Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Doctor is in podcast. This is a controlled environment agriculture podcast where we are focusing on optimizing indoor plant environments, whether you grow in a greenhouse or a vertical farm, and regardless of what you're growing. Today, I want to switch gears a little bit. I actually want to talk about air conditioning at home and give you 5 tips for ways that you can inexpensively, very quickly improve your cooling, the cooling that you're going to get from your air conditioner. These tips can relate to an indoor farm or to a greenhouse, but it has been a very sweltering summer here in Sacramento, California. The first 2 weeks of July, in fact, 13 of the 14 days, it was greater than 100 degrees. We are breaking all kinds of records here in California and across the world. We just wrapped up the Olympics, and a lot of people were really concerned about the decision to not put in traditional air conditioning to the Olympic Village, to the housing for the Olympic Village. Though I will say that there was a type of air conditioning. It's just because it's not conventional and what people think of, right? Uh, People thought, well, this is not air conditioning, when in fact it was actually they were using geothermal heat pumps and using cold water from the Seine River in order to cool the residences and buildings down, though maybe still to a sweltering temperature of 78 degrees during the night. So, just the fact that it's been really hot where I live, and thinking about air conditioning for the Paris Olympics, it really got me to think about, how we at our house try to reduce the temperature and keep cool during the summer, and realizing that, a lot of those tips I could share with my listeners that maybe you could apply at your home, your business, and maybe even your indoor farm, because they could be relevant. So let's get into it. So these are the 5 tips to get the most out of your air conditioner this summer and next summer, and beyond. And again, like I said, these are simple, inexpensive tips. There are, of course, big things, big investments that you could do to, increase the air conditioning efficiency and stay cool and reduce heat transfer in your home and business. But I really wanted to say, okay, you have what you have. What can we do with the limited sort of resources you have, and without breaking the bank, to stay cool? All right, so let's get into it. The first tip is to temporarily insulate your windows and your walls, your garage, your ceiling. Basically, what I'm encouraging you to do is to try to reduce the amount of heat that enters your home, because less heat that enters your living space, the less work your air conditioner has to do to remove that heat. So the first tip that I think of is this temporarily insulating your windows. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that at our house, we go to Home Depot or Lowe's, or whatever is your home repair shop that you like to patronize. And a lot of times they will sell these bundles or these packs of styrofoam boards that come in various, dimensions. Maybe they're like 12 inches wide by a few feet tall, and maybe they're half an inch or an inch thick. And so we will buy packages of these styrofoam boards, and we will literally slide them into the windows on really hot days. We also line the inside surface of our garage door with these styrofoam panels. And sometimes we move them from the east side, the windows on the east side of the house, to the windows on the west side of the house, and kind of track the sun as it moves, because what these styrofoam panels are doing is that they're doing two things really. One, they are blocking sunlight, solar radiation from coming into your house by putting them in the windows. So we're reducing the solar heat gain, and sort of that greenhouse effect that we would get otherwise by just letting sun shine through the windows. But we're also insulating. We're also blocking convective heat from coming in from the outside. And we close blinds, right? We close the curtains, and that helps to limit how much sun comes in. But still, there's a glow of light that comes in through those curtains and blinds. By putting in those styrofoam panels, those are completely opaque to sunshine. And that 1 inch of insulation gives you about an R3 insulation value. Now, that's not a lot, but it's a lot more than the R1 insulation value you are probably getting from your windows, even if they are double insulated pane windows. Blocking that sunshine, adding a little more insulation to the windows can go a long way to keeping your house cooler during the hot times of the day. And the beauty about having these styrofoam panels is that they're temporary, right? Like I said, we can move them from one side of the house to the other side of the house as the sun moves from east to west. We can remove them at night and open the windows to cool down the house. They're not a permanent fixture. They might be ugly for a few hours, but who cares, right? If we're able to keep the house cooler by 2 or 3 degrees, we'll take it. Okay, so the second tip that I have has to do with your air conditioner. So all air conditioners, conventional air conditioners, I should say, they have, a part of the air conditioner that has the cooling coil and is blowing cold air into your house. But then there's an exterior part that is dumping the heat that it's pulling from your house to the outside, and that's your condenser coil. So we're literally just, looping heat from inside the house, transferring it to outside the house, and then cooling the house again with refrigerant, typically in your home. So a tip is to actually use evaporative cooling to reduce the temperature of the air that is blowing across the condenser coils that are rejecting the heat to the outside. So air conditioners, they actually have to work a lot harder the hotter it is outside, because we're trying to move, heat from a space that's, say, 75 degrees inside to a space outside that's 100 or 105 degrees. That is really hard for an air conditioner to move heat from a cold place to a hot place. And so the efficiency and the effectiveness of your air conditioner actually reduce the higher the outside air temperature is. So we can trick our air conditioner into thinking it's cooler by evaporatively cooling the air that's coming from the outside before it gets blown across the air conditioner. And this is actually has a term. It's an evaporatively cooled condenser. And so what we do at home, nothing fancy, is we actually stick our hose with the spray nozzle and face it towards the inlet fins of the air conditioner, of the condenser on the air conditioner, so that when air gets sucked in by that condenser fan across those outside inlet vents, it cools down. And evaporative cooling, as many of you know, is very effective in a greenhouse and in many climates. And here in Sacramento, it's relatively dry. Well, it's very dry, I should say. Not as dry as maybe Arizona, but evaporative cooling works really well. And so it could be 110 degrees outside, but because we're pre-evaporatively cooling the air that the air conditioner is working against, we can drop that temperature 10 or 20 degrees. By doing that, we increase the efficiency of the air conditioner because it has to work less hard to reject that heat to the outside. And we increase its effectiveness it's more able to do the cooling we're asking it to do. In fact, some studies have shown that by evaporatively cooling the air going to your condenser, you can reduce energy use by 15%. Somewhere between 10 and 20%. It depends on how often you're using it, depends on how old your air conditioning equipment is, right? Depends on a lot of different factors, but that is no joke, 15%. And not, there are really two major benefits, personally for this. One, it's going to reduce my energy bill because I'm doing less work, right? My air conditioner is doing less work, using less energy. But also, what we have found in our own house is that we're able to keep the temperature inside the house 3 degrees, 2, 3, 4 degrees cooler inside than if we weren't evaporatively cooling the condenser. So for example, we might only be able to get the temperature down to 78 degrees, when it's 110 degrees outside. That's still great. Don't get me wrong. But if we evaporatively cool the condenser, we can drop the temperature down to 75 degrees, even during the hottest time of the day. Now, I know that's using more work than if we just kept the set point at 78 degrees, but there you go, right? If you keep the temperature set point to 78 degrees, that's even less work your air conditioner is going to do, the more money you're going to save. And right, there's another advantage to that. So evaporatively cooling the condenser is a major tip, and something we do every summer. And again, it's temporary, right? We stick the hose on that air conditioner, on those inlet vents, and we turn it on just during the middle of the day and only on the hottest days. If it's 95 degrees out, we don't do this, right? Because we don't want to just be using water for the sake of water, but water does have a cooling effect, and so we use that to our advantage. Okay, the third thing is to recharge your house at night. And basically what we're doing is we're implementing a concept of thermal energy storage. So during the day, all the materials inside your house, including, your walls, your floor, your furniture, they are all absorbing heat that is entering the house through the windows, through the walls, and they are warming up. And so what happens is that, they keep absorbing heat. And then at night, they tend to then release that heat back into the air inside your home because now the air is cooler. And so the heat gets released. Well, we can actually use that to our advantage by purposefully cooling the materials inside our house. We can actually kind of charge them like a battery so that during the day they have more ability to absorb that heat, rather than it just kind of radiating within your home. So we recharge our house at night. And we do that one of two ways, depending on what it's like outside. On a cool night, and we are very lucky in Sacramento, we have something called the Delta breezes. So it could be 110 during the day, but then we get these breezes coming off of the Delta that drop the temperature to, 55 or 60 degrees, and it's really breezy. So we open up all the windows and let all that heat escape. And all the materials, the walls, the floors, the furniture, they all cool down so that then the next day when it's warm again, they absorb that heat rather than, me absorbing that heat. Now that's on a good night. We've also had some pretty painful nights here in Sacramento, and this is nothing like Phoenix, I will tell you right now, because Phoenix is hotter at night. But we will actually run the air conditioner at night. Now, a lot of people probably think this is counterintuitive, right? Like turn off the air conditioner when you don't need it, right? Only use it when you absolutely need it. But there's a few benefits. One is this recharging of the house, right? Close all the windows, maybe keep those styrofoam panels in the window, in the walls, so that, you're not transferring heat, that we're kind of like keeping the space conditioned inside that we want to condition. run that air conditioner through the night. One thing, you're going to sleep much better, right? A lot of studies, research has shown that we sleep better when we are cool at night. But also, we are effectively recharging our house. And it's a lot less expensive, right, to run the air conditioner to use electricity and power at night during off peak times. So, what we have found is that by recharging our house at night, we delay when we need to turn on the air conditioner during the daytime. So we're saving energy during, um, on peak hours by using electricity to cool our house during off peak hours. So that is also an energy cost savings measure by running it at night, and trying to delay how long you turn it on during the day. So you're going to sleep better, you're going to use less energy overall, and you're just going to be more comfortable both during the day and the night. Okay, so the fourth tip is another air conditioner tip. So this is about the diffusers that are in your house. So I don't know how many of you pay attention to how air gets delivered into your house, but most, I would say, residential conventional air conditioners have ducting. And so they're distributing air from the air conditioner to the various rooms in your house. And those rooms have a diffuser. So as you're listening to this, if you're in your house, maybe some of you are cleaning or some of you are just like, meditating on my voice. I don't know. Look around you, look at your walls, look at your ceiling, and you will probably see a diffuser. And most home diffusers have a damper. They have this little toggle where you can kind of open and close the damper on the diffuser. So you can decide how much air you want to deliver to each room. You can balance the air and redistribute it based on how you occupy your space and in even what time of year it is. So what we do at home, we have a 2-story house. So we have a downstairs and upstairs. And unfortunately, we only have one air conditioner serving the whole thing. And so what we do is we vary the flow based on the rooms that we occupy by adjusting, by toggling this little switch on the diffuser. So in the summer, gets really hot upstairs. So we fully open that damper. And then downstairs, it stays a lot cooler. So we close some of the dampers to the rooms that we aren't in very often, like the guest room, right? We're not in the guest room very often. So we close that one or mostly shut it. It's also on the northeast side of the house. So it gets the least amount of sun. So it stays cool even on its own, just through sort of osmosis. So we kind of close that one, but then we open the one upstairs so that it stays cooler upstairs. And then we do the opposite in the winter. Heat rises, right? So we actually almost fully close the damper upstairs so that we don't get hot air blowing into the upstairs rooms, and just let the heat naturally rise upstairs. And by the way, we still a lot of times have to open the windows because it still gets too hot upstairs. But then we open all the dampers downstairs because, right, we want to heat downstairs where we're reading or watching TV or working. And so you can use these diffusers and dampers to your advantage and actually do your own air balancing. I'm gonna guess not a lot of people realize that they even have that little toggle, or have even thought about using them and adjusting them. If you don't have that toggle, you could actually replace that faceplate fairly inexpensively to get one. We know a lot of people will, kind of tape a piece of paper or cardboard over it, right, in order to restrict flow to different ones. I mean, you could do that as well. But check to see if you have that little switch. And if you do, start playing with it based on the rooms that you occupy, based on the rooms that get hot or get cold. It can make a really big difference, and it certainly does for us. The fifth one is also an air conditioning tip. And, it's amazing how frequently we have to do this, especially in the summer and the winter. And so the fifth tip is to replace your air filter. Um, most people probably don't do this frequently enough. I'm actually surprised at how frequently we have to do this, monthly, if not more frequently when we have wildfires and smoke. In Sacramento, we also have some pets, and so, we get a lot of hair and dander that accumulates on the filter, especially maybe in the spring when they're shedding, and there's a lot of pollen in the air. So we might replace the filters more frequently in the spring and then in the summer if it's smoky. Um, but that really helps to ensure good airflow to your air conditioner. And the more air that we're blowing across those cooling coils, the more cold air we're going to get, and the less hard your equipment is going to have to work by having unrestricted airflow. Now, some people I've seen are tempted to actually remove the air filter because they're thinking, oh, I want unrestricted airflow, but that's actually really bad. Don't do that. And there's a couple reasons you don't want to do that. One is that all that dust and pollen and dander and hair, it's going to find its way to the cooling coils and to the heating coils, and it's going to gunk it all up, which is going to then reduce the surface contact between the air that's going across the cooling coils and the cooling coils themselves. So now essentially those coils become the air filter. And there's no way you're going up there to clean those coils once a month or even once a year or ever. It's a lot easier to just replace your air filter. So don't do that. The other thing is that it is a fire risk. When you're in heating season, and if you have a furnace, a hot flame, or just hot coils, those materials can be combustible, and they could get caught in the flame and catch fire. So please, please, please have a filter, and then replace your filter, at least every 3 months. A lot of times filters are in places where you can observe them directly, either on the floor or in the ceiling or on the wall. Look at them. If they look dirty, if you can't see through them, replace it. They're cheap. Just buy cheap ones. I know you can buy HEPA filters. You can buy, all ULPA filters. You can buy all kinds of filters. If you just buy a cheap $3 or $5, air filter and replace it every few months, you're going to be in good shape. All right. So these are my basic 5, quick, cheap tips for keeping your house cool in the summer, especially on those really hot days. So 1, reduce the solar heat gain and convective heat gain into your house by temporarily insulating your windows and your garage doors and maybe other surfaces that have zero insulation. Increase the efficiency and the effectiveness of your air conditioner by spraying your air conditioner, especially the condenser portion, with water to get an evaporative cooling effect. Number 3, recharge your house at night by either air conditioning at night when it's warm outside, or on a cool night, open up all the windows, let that cold air come in and that hot air escape, so that the next day, maybe you can use the air conditioner a little bit less and it'll be more tolerable. Number 4, adjust the dampers on your diffusers. Adjust them so that you are actually deciding where air is going to be delivered into your house from the air conditioner. Is it going to be downstairs, upstairs, in an occupied room, an unoccupied room, the hot part of the house, the cold part of the house? You a lot of times have control by changing the position of those dampers. And number 5 is to replace your air filter frequently. By replacing your filter, you are going to ensure that you're going to get good airflow across those cooling coils in the summer and the heating coils in the winter, and delivering the maximum amount of cooling that your air conditioner can provide to the rooms where you want it most. All right, so those are my 5 cheap tips. I also wrote a blog about it. We posted it on August 2nd, 2024. You can see some photos of the different tips that I just described here. And of course, there are more expensive, measures that you can take to increase the efficiency of your air conditioner and the effectiveness of the cooling and reduce heat from coming in, right? You can replace your windows, you can replace your air conditioning unit. There's several things you can do. But if you just want to keep it simple and you just got to get through the hot summer nights, right? That these hot August nights, these are some things you can do right now that are going to cost you practically nothing. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. I hope that these tips are helpful. We'd love to hear from you. If you actually implement any or all of these measures, let us know how they worked for you. If you have other cheap, simple tips that you apply at your own house or business, we'd also love to hear from you. Please share what you do to stay cool in the summer. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.